Good morning, guys. It's Wednesday. Here we go. We are one day away. Orioles are back in first place, but I got all my predictions for every division, who's going to make the playoffs, who's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just going to go right through it. I'll put all this in the Telegram chat so you guys can thank me at the end of the season, hopefully. Right? So here we go. Let's start out west. Let's not make it complicated. Whatever you want to bet on the Chiefs, you have my full endorsement. I don't see how they don't win the division. If you want to bet for them to win the conference, to win the Super Bowl, Mahomes to win the MVP, there's no argument against it, in my opinion. I've had the Chiefs the past couple of years. Unless I see something different, there's no way to bet against the Chiefs. They've improved offensively. They're going to be more dynamic, and Mahomes just has reached that category. I think he's the only person that's reached this category this fast where you're 100% sure you don't want to bet against them. Like if you think they're going to lose, just think they're going to lose. Don't bet against them. Just save yourself the heartache. It's not worth it. He's too good. What he did last year was absolutely ridiculous. So let's just end it there. Root against him, but it just doesn't make any sense to take a flyer on the Chargers or take a flyer on the Raiders or the Broncos. I'm down on the latter two teams. I think Sean Payton's overrated. I'm not a Sean Payton guy. I think this Broncos team sucks. I would take the under on the Broncos win total. I just don't like the Broncos at all. Maybe they win a game at the end of the year because Bo Nix is playing, he's trying his hardest and some team takes him lightly. Maybe that's like the highlight of the year, but I just don't like this team. I think they get off to a bad start. They're going to get hammered by the Seahawks on opening day. Don't like the Broncos. The Raiders are hard to read, but I just don't think Minshew's that good. I like a lot of their skill players. I like a lot of their I like a lot of their talent, but they don't have a real home field advantage. Excuse me again. And the AFC is just too loaded. So the Raiders, I don't like the Raiders. I'll pick my spots betting against the Raiders. I'll be more comfortable betting against the Broncos early in the season. Raiders, they might cover. They might play teams tough. Crosby's fantastic on defense, but yeah, that and the Chargers. I'm just going to be down on the Chargers. I don't know. I think Hardball running it back with Roman. I think Herbert really missed a lot of not I think I know he missed a lot of throws last year. It's easy to just blame the coaching staff, but to me, Herbert wasn't great last year. He hasn't been great since they blew that playoff game. The Chargers roster feels like they got to turn over some of those defensive guys. They're a little bit older. I don't know if they'll respond to the way Hardball coaches. The Chargers better get off to a fast start. Feels like a team that ends up just short. I could see them winning 9 games, but I love the AFC this year. There's a lot of good teams. I'm gonna get to my biggest surprise here in a second, but the Chargers, I don't have them making the playoffs. I got just one team. It's the Chiefs, and you put a gun to my head. I'm gonna make them the 1 seed. So Chiefs get the 1 seed. Let's go to the North. Let's go to the East. Let's do the East first because I feel the same about the East that I do about the West. Just a little bit, not meaning I got one team coming out. Got the Dolphins winning the division. I have the Dolphins as 2 or the 3 seed. I penciled them in at the 3 seed, but I think the Dolphins will be great this year. And it wouldn't shock me if they got the 1 seed. I think betting the over with the Dolphins or taking their odds to win not only the AFC, because they getting to the AFC Championship game, you can hedge. Dolphins win the East. I like the Dolphins this year. I'm down on the other 3 teams. The Patriots really aren't worth too much of our time. I think they're the worst team in the AFC, period. They just suck. Everything about them sucks. And I think they have terrible karma. What they did with that Apple documentary to vilify Belichick, just ridiculous. They had no transition plan. I think Kraft is just over his head. His son's running the team. Patriots are going to suck this year. Period. They traded Judon. Barmore hit their best defensive lineman. He's not playing. If they weren't playing the Bengals week 1, I would 100% bet on. Like, I just don't trust the Bengals to blow them out because the Bengals I'm down on. Get to them in a second. But, yeah, down the Patriots. The Bills. Let's do the Bills. Bill Belichick. Speaking of Bill Belichick, wouldn't be shocked if he's the Bills coach next year. I think McDermott's just not a great coach. Solid defensive mind. He's just blown it. They've had a window to win. They've blown it countless times. Last year was exceptionally terrible. To lose that game at home to the Chiefs like that was just, oh my God. I think it's just over for Buffalo. They got to restart with a new coach. They win 6, 7, 8 games this year, and that's just the end of it. Too much talent's gone. Too much talent's gone on defense. It's not even that Diggs is gone that bothers me so much. It's the defensive talent that's not there. And they got injuries. They when you pay the quarterback, you can't pay everybody. Buffalo's experiencing that right this second. I don't like Buffalo, and I'm not betting on the Jets. I mean, I don't know who's betting on the Jets. I mean, I guess a lot of people will, but based on just like hope, because the evidence isn't there. The coach is not good. The quarterback wasn't great last time we saw him. Aaron Rodgers. I don't really have an opinion on Aaron Rodgers because I don't like having an opinion on celebrities. I like having an opinion on issues, not on like people. That seems a little weird to me to listen to, try to project like somebody just because you listen to them talk on a podcast or interviews. So I more judge. I really don't care about Aaron Rodgers' opinions on things. I find it interesting that he's willing to talk about it, but that's not. It has nothing to do. Like to me, if I had to hypothesize why he started to talk about some of these things, I think it's because the football talent's gone. I think that the arm strength's just not there anymore. I think the mobility's not there. It's going to be, an FU season for him. He's going to try his absolute best. I know the last thing he wants is to go out losing, but I think that the highlight of their season is they win week one and they just teeter. I don't think the defense is that great. They're not going to be dynamic on offense. They have some dynamic players, but they didn't spend enough time, in my opinion, developing an actual offensive game plan. Rodgers not being there most of the offseason, Hackett not being a genius by any stretch. Hard to bet on the Dolphins. AFC is too good. Not going to take them. So I got just the Dolphins, just the Chiefs, and the North. I got the Ravens. I think the Ravens, look, I'm going to do a ton on the Ravens tomorrow as they get ready for the Chiefs, but it's really just Derrick Henry. If they would have not signed Derrick Henry, I would have thought that maybe the karma, the energy from last year, might build up going into this year, but it's going to be different with Derrick Henry. You're basically swapping out Beckham for Derrick Henry as far as the leader of the team. And it's just Lamar's not really that guy from a vocal leadership. Beckham was, if you know, if you know. But Derrick Henry gets the ball. So DaCosta brings in Derrick Henry as the not so subtle message, like, hey, we're going to run the football, right? Like, I know Gus Edwards couldn't jump up and down and say, give me the ball last year in the playoffs, but Derrick Henry certainly can. Hopefully we don't have that issue. Ravens are too good. Ravens are too good on defense. They lose Anthony Weaver. He goes to Miami. They lose, obviously, McDonald goes to Seattle, but the defense is just too good. There's just too many good players, and they get better at linebacker. And that's not because Patrick Queen says weird things on Twitter. It's because Trenton Simpson's just better than Patrick Queen. That really won't be debatable by October. I think most Ravens fans are that are objective. Even last year, you could make the argument Simpson's just better. Queen shines because there's no attention on him. You don't game plan for Patrick Queen, and you really won't game plan for Trenton Simpson with Roquan right next to him. But Simpson looked so good against Pittsburgh in that last game last year. I think that's an improvement. I know it's an improvement in the secondary with Wiggins and TJ Tampa and Eddie Jackson. There's no drama now with, Geno Stone had to get paid, so he doesn't really want to back up Marcus Williams when he's leading the league in interceptions. Eddie Jackson didn't get paid. He's just happy to be here, so he knows his role. I like the Ravens. Obviously, I'm from Baltimore. I'm going to like the Ravens, but if you listened to me last year, I was very skeptical about them. I didn't like the Odell Beckham signing, but they're just gonna be way too hard to stop. I don't know what happens tomorrow. We'll wait and see. Week one, I don't want to say you can throw it away, but that particular game, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very emotional. We'll see. Hopefully they win, but even if the Chiefs win, maybe we'll then bet my Ravens futures after week one because, yeah, like the Ravens, I am down on Cincinnati. Burrow's injury on his wrist is, to me, the biggest injury in football. We'll see how it plays out, but a lot of reports are really bad over the summer. He can't throw consecutive days. Chase isn't there. He'll be there, I'm sure, but not practicing. Higgins Higgins being on the 1 year deal. No more Joe Mixon, and they lose the offensive coordinator. Brian Callahan goes to Tennessee. maybe Cincinnati wins 8 or 9 games, but I think they fall short. I think they're in the Buffalo window where they got to restart. I don't know if they restart by getting rid of the coach. Zach Taylor seems to be a pretty good coach, but the offensive coordinator's gone. We'll see. I just don't like Cincinnati this year. Pittsburgh, down on Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is it's finally over. Like, I mean, Ravens fans have been saying that for 4 years, but I think it's finally over. Russell Wilson feels like his career trajectory is being a backup quarterback for the next 5 years, maybe winning a playoff game like a Joe Flacco had a run last year, but he's just too slow. And the Steelers' offensive line, he's too slow mentally and he's too slow physically. He doesn't see the field very well. I mean, it just is. It takes him a while to see the field. That's just the player he's always been. That's why he slipped in the draft. That's why the Seahawks ran the offense they did. He just doesn't read the field very well. Um, that's number one. And then number two, he's just slow. And the offensive line for Pittsburgh is not great. Defensively, they'll always be Pittsburgh. They'll probably win a couple games. They'll be underdogs where their defense just suffocates, a bad offensive line. But I think the Steelers finally fall short, mainly because they don't have the weapons to bail out Wilson. George Pickens as a number one is a disaster. He's a disaster as a person, as a God. I would not want him on my team at all. I guess you have to make him the number one, even though Fryermuth is the number one, meaning 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. That's who's the number one. That's it. Forget receiver, tight end, running back. Where's the ball go? I guess no teams go to the running back, maybe besides McCaffrey in San Francisco. But where's the ball go? And it's got to go to Fryermuth over the middle. He's great. Wilson likes the tight ends. Pickens has to get the ball. He has to get paid. I think he's a cancer on the team. Don't like the Steelers. I am probably going to throw up as I say it, but I got Cleveland as the 7 seed. That defense is just too good. It's just too good. Defense is just way too good. They signed Juan Thornhill to improve it. Myles Garrett's probably the best pass rusher. And his defense is really, really good. They don't have Nick Chubb to start the season, but it'll be like an infusion if they get off to a decent start. And I don't know. Watson, his number, he's such a weird guy, but it's like I'm not super high on Cleveland. That's why I have him as the 7 seed. But as I was going through it, is it Buffalo? Is it the Jets? Is it the Chargers? I ultimately go with Cleveland. I just because the defense is so good. I think they win 6 games at home. And yeah, so got Cleveland. I don't really like talking about it because I don't like Cleveland, but I do have them. So Ravens, Cleveland, Chiefs, and Dolphins. Yes, that's the headline. I get 3 teams from the AFC South. And the last one, yes, spoiler alert, it's not Jacksonville. It's the Titans. I got Jacksonville not making it. So everyone knows I like the Colts. I got the Colts making the playoffs. Shane Steichen, fantastic. Love Shane Steichen. Think he's the best offensive mind in the entire league. I can carry on about the Colts forever. Love the Colts. Love the Colts. Love the Colts. I think they fall just short of winning the division, though. I got the Colts winning 10, 11 games, but falling just short of winning the division because CJ Stroud is the second best quarterback in football. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are a step, maybe 2 steps behind Lamar Jackson. Lamar's my number 3. I love Lamar, but CJ Stroud, I've seen enough. I really, really, really don't know if I've ever said I've seen enough with a quarterback this soon, but he is amazing. I love CJ Stroud. I'm not going to turn this into a CJ Stroud podcast, but I love CJ Stroud. So on any roster this year, you could put Mahomes on, they're making the playoffs. You could put Lamar on, they're making the playoffs. I think maybe besides New England. Probably Lamar still gets him there. Mahomes gets him there. And Stroud's the next guy. I think Allen and Burrow need a little bit more. They're not as, I think Stroud's just so good that it wouldn't shock me if he wins 3, 4 Super Bowls. I mean, it's hard to win Super Bowls. Stroud is that offensive line last year in that divisional round for the playoffs. The crowd for the Ravens was ridiculous. And the offensive line for the Texans just did not give Stroud a chance because he was making so many big throws. And that if he would have just had some more time, that game would have been really dicey at the end. I got the Texans. I got the Colts. I'm going to save the Titans for last since that's my surprise, right? Well, not surprise, but that's my, no one else I don't think has the Titans. I'm sure somebody somewhere in Tennessee does. But yeah, I'll explain that in a second. But Jacksonville falls short to me. And that was a tough call too. But Jacksonville feels like they don't have a sense of urgency. now that Lawrence got paid, Doug Peterson's got a Super Bowl. They don't really know what their identity is. They got the young receiver Brian Thomas, who is, I think that will be their number one option. It's probably the best guy to take for fantasy. I just don't love the way they finished the year. When you finish a year like that, I thought it exposed Lawrence in a lot of ways. The offensive line wasn't great, and Doug Peterson's just not great. I think they have a new coach in Jacksonville next year. A lot of things just go wrong for the Jaguars. They'll have a weak home field if they're not, if they get off to a slow start. You got to go to Miami to start the season, and I love the South. So down Jacksonville, Titans. Why do I like the Titans? Let's see. Coach, quarterback. Let's start with the coach. Brian Callahan gets the job. Offensive coordinator for the Bengals for a long time. His father, Bill Callahan, longtime coach. Really, really, really good mind. Really solid coordinator. And he's going to get a ton out of Will Levis. Will Levis flashed last year. Will Levis has enough where he's the typical guy Will Levis is, just like a Baker Mayfield, where you have to put them in the right system. You have to have a strong-minded offensive dominant personality to be like, save this guy from himself. Because Will Levis will want to hold on to the football. He'll want to take a few chances. Callahan will make him disciplined. They'll be efficient. They have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears, really dynamic, really fast, really quick, good screen guy. The Bengals offense is going to look a lot more pedestrian this year, and the Titans offense is going to be dynamic. You're going to see that very similar to how the Colts offense with Steichen is dynamic and the Eagles offense is not. Coaching is everything in this league, and certain guys just are a step ahead, and I believe Callahan is. Will Levis gets DeAndre Hopkins, and he gets Calvin Ridley. Those are two alphas, two really, really strong-willed receivers, hard to match up. Um, the Titans also got L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City, their top corner. Jeffrey Simmons, their best player on defense. I think he single-handedly ruins Caleb Williams' opening day. Do not take the Bears week one. I got the Titans already. I like the Titans. I'm obviously putting my neck out there. That's my biggest one. I think the Titans make the playoffs. They probably get spanked. Will Levis may get, maybe they win the first game, but it probably gets humbled at some point this season. But I think you're going to see a really, really dynamic offense playing from the lead. Will allow them to be pressure, get the most out of the defense. I know Vrabel, you feel like, man, Vrabel's getting the most out of that defense, and he probably was. But at the same time, they added L'Jarius Sneed, they added Ernest Jones. They've added a handful of guys that they just have more talent on defense than they've had the past couple of years. Plus, the offense will be better. Vrabel had to win these games, old school fashion by 3 points, just with a bunch of field goals. I like the Titans, especially week one. So that's it. I got the Chiefs as the one. I wish the Ravens, we'll see. Chiefs, Ravens, Dolphins. I could see it interchangeably, 1, 2, 3. I think the Texans get the 4, but they get less wins than the rest of those teams. I think they have a tougher go at it because of the AFC South. But it wouldn't shock me 1 through 4, however that went. But I think those are the 4 division winners, with the biggest challenge being the Colts to the Texans. Then I get the Colts in there as the 5, and I got the Titans at the 6 and the Browns at the 7. And I think we get a rematch. I'll probably just speak whatever. I don't know. I want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. Everything lines up for it. It's the 12 years thing. It's back in New Orleans, all that jazz. But I think we get the rematch of the Ravens and the Texans at some point in the playoffs before that winner gets the Chiefs. That's my prediction. And I hate to say it, but I feel like the Texans get the better of the Ravens this year. And it feels like the Texans go to Kansas City for, maybe the Dolphins get there. I keep going back and forth. It's so hard to predict what's going to happen in the actual playoffs, just like conceptualizing all this stuff. But ultimately, no matter who plays the Chiefs, whether it's the Dolphins, Texans, or Ravens, just call me a square, but I got to go with the Chiefs to win the AFC. So that's that with the AFC. My biggest surprise being the Titans, obviously. I don't think anything else I said. The Colts is probably, I'm in the minority. And the Browns, you can find some people that are super passionate about the Browns both ways, right? Like they think they're going to be terrible. Deshaun Watson's terrible. And then other people point to the numbers, and Cleveland, I think, was 5-1 last year with Watson. They did beat us at the end of the year, or not the end of the year, at the end of Watson's year, when they came back and beat us in Baltimore. So yeah, I would say the big things is probably the Titans and the Colts getting three teams from the AFC South. All right, NFC. Ooh, deep breath. Let me get a drink. All right, so where should we start? Let's start. Let's just start in the East. That'll be, yeah, let's start in the East. So Giants suck. I don't like the Giants at all. I think they're in the same boat as the Patriots. They're just a bad team. I don't like anything about the Giants. Whether or not they want to redo the coach, redo the quarterback, I don't know. We can talk about that later in the season and see how things play out. But I don't see a world where the Giants are competitive and make the playoffs. The Eagles, I've already talked about this at length. The Eagles, the coaching, the quarterback, it's all toxic. On paper, ton of weapons. I think the defense gets worse. Big fan. I mean, I don't know if it can get much worse than it did towards the end of the season, but overall numbers, I think it gets worse because they won't start off 11-1. Vic Fangio wasn't great last year. I don't think he'll be good this year. He's getting older. I don't know. I don't see it with Philly. Too much toxicity, too much bad stuff going on, bad vibes, lack of leadership, trying to build a team like you would in a video game by just having good guys with good overalls. Like I don't know. I don't like it at all. Vibes just off in Philadelphia. They need to change it. No sense of urgency. They blew it last year. They wanted to rewrite what happened in the Super Bowl. They could have. They were right there. Then the Niners kicked their ass that game and they never recovered. Right in Philly, Niners kicked their ass and that was it. So no Eagles for me, and no Cowboys for me. Same thing as Philadelphia. Like, what are you doing? Like, what kind of offseason is this? It's just weird. Last time we saw you guys, it was pathetic the way you looked against Green Bay. Now you're running it back with Ezekiel Elliott. I I don't know. After going through all of it, I'm like the only team I have good vibes, good feeling about is the Commanders. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to go where the vibes are telling me here. So the Cowboys, Eagles, it just doesn't feel right. Commanders feels right. Clear ownership, clear leadership, clear new direction. Dan Quinn runs the defense, and Kingsbury gets to run the offense. Jaden Daniels, you have no ability to prepare for him because it's fresh from college. Kingsbury is going to institute a lot of running. Washington's going to be they're going to force turnovers. They're going to be dynamic on offense early enough in the season to give them a leg up on the rest of the division. And I think they squeak it out. Maybe Philly or Dallas tries to compete at the very end, but they fall short. Washington might only win 9 games, but it's going to be enough to win the NFC East. It's the division that I'm least excited about, probably the least confident, just because betting on the Commanders feels weird. Calling them the Commanders feels weird, but I don't like these other three teams at all. So by default, I think Washington might be a 7 or 8 win team somewhere else. Here it turns into 9 or 10. Excuse me. So I got the Commanders in there as the 4 seed, and I got them losing to whoever they play. But yeah, got the Commanders in as the 4 seed, down on the rest of the NFC East. Let's go to the NFC South. NFC South is one of those divisions where you Falcons, fine, take the Falcons. It's hard to really like the Saints or the Panthers. I've talked about this before, but let's start with Tampa because why shouldn't Tampa just win the division again? Like when I say don't overthink things, Tampa brings everybody back. They were good last year. They really had Detroit on the ropes in that playoff game after they beat Philadelphia. The Falcons are doing everything brand new, and the other two teams just aren't that good. They're doing things new. The Saints should be doing things new. The Saints just have a terrible roster. But Tampa Bay, I don't know why Tampa just doesn't win 11 games and wins the division. Maybe they even win 12 games. Tampa's going to be better on defense because Bowles is so good on defense. He gets his guys back. He gets another year to do his thing. And the interesting thing about Tampa that put me over the edge is I don't know how many guys remember Tom Moore, the offensive, you call him guru. I think his title was quarterbacks coach for Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, but might be, if you just listen to people talk over the years, might be like the top offensive mind of a generation, like just an amazing amazing mind, right? If you ever listen to Peyton Manning talk about him. So he's whispering here in Tampa Bay's ear. He works for the Bucks. He spoke so highly of Baker Mayfield. I was really impressed with Baker. I think the Bucks are still kind of in the same position as last year, where once they get to that divisional round or the conference championship, they won't be able to get over the hump. I don't think the roster is good enough to get quite over the hump, but it's good enough to get back there. I like the Bucks. I like them to win the South, mainly because I don't like the rest of the division. I'm gonna give the Falcons into the play. So I got the Falcons as the 7 seed. Got the Bucks in there as my 3 seed slash 2 seed, depending on how things play out. But I got the Falcons as the 7 seed. I don't feel great about it. It's kind of how I feel about Cleveland. I could have gone with some other teams here. One of the NFC East teams. I could have put a third NFC North team in there. But ultimately, I think the Falcons win 9, maybe 10 games, and they get that 7 spot because the roster is just too good. But I just haven't seen it, so I don't like betting on the Falcons this year. I might, excuse me, early in the year. Probably will wait, see what it looks like. But Cousins is good. It's hard to, you know, talk too much about him because he just is what he is, right? Like he's an above average quarterback. When they're playing a bad defense, if he has time to throw, he's on the short list of guys you want. But it's everything's brand new. They have a new coach, new coordinator. I think the Falcons are one of those teams that picks up steam at the end of the season. You don't want to play them in the playoffs, but I think they fall a game or two short of Tampa. I think Tampa's just got a not better roster, but a better team, if that makes sense, going into the season. Just more continuity. And yeah, so I got Bucks in there, and I got the Falcons, Bucks, Falcons, and Commanders. Let's go to the North. A little more chalk in the North. Packers win the division for me. The Packers are really, really, really good. I got the Packers. I wanted to give them the 1 seed, but I ended up going with the 2 seed for the Packers. We'll get to the 1 seed in a moment. But yeah, I got the Packers at the 2 seed. I feel weird about this Brazil game. Like I want to bet the Packers really bad because I like the Packers and I don't like the Eagles, but I still have a weird feeling about this Brazil game, week 1. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. But I mean, the Packers defense last year was atrocious. They bring in a brand new defensive coordinator who was the head coach from Boston College. So it's a demotion in title, but he did a great job with Boston College. I forget his name now, Jeff something. But anyway, I like him a lot. I like the Packers. The Packers are just super dynamic, and they're not only are they dynamic on offense with 4 wide receivers, but their alpha is actually the running back, which is Josh Jacobs. They bring in Josh Jacobs. They're going to run the football. I like the Packers. I'm going to bet them Friday night. What am I talking about? I like the Packers. Packers get the 2 seed. Lions also make the playoffs. I got the Lions in there, but the Lions are going to struggle to start the season. The Lions are, I mean, what a depressing way. They should be in the freaking Super Bowl. It should have been Lions versus the Chiefs. They had the Niners. They had the Niners. What a terrible way to lose. But I don't think they suffer the way Buffalo suffers, which is they can't recover from. They should have won that game in the playoffs, right? Same thing with the Ravens. Ravens and the Lions just have too good of rosters. Lions stole Kevin Zeitler from us to improve an already really good offensive line. The Lions, you could argue, have the best roster, period, just all the way through. Lions are really good. I just think the Packers are a little bit better, slash, the Packers will have a chance to get off to a better start. Lions are going to have to lick their wounds a little bit. They might have to just see a season where the Lions struggle early, then they fight their way back. They get in there as the 6 seed, the Lions. Vikings, I'm higher than on the Bears. I got the Vikings being really good compared to what people think, and maybe they get the 7 seed. I wouldn't be shocked. I think Darnold will be better than he's ever been. I really like the coach in Minnesota, but ultimately just not enough talent. I got them winning 7, 8 games. Maybe they get the 9 or 10 if they win a couple, if everything goes their way. But everything went their way a couple years ago. It's hard to ask the football gods for everything to go your way, and it feels like a team that everything needs to go their way. But I don't like betting against the Vikings, that's for sure. And the Bears, I'm not sold on the Bears. I got the Titans winning week 1. I don't like the Bears. I just don't like it. I think everybody wants to jump on a team that you just haven't seen it on paper. Fine, but I don't trust the coach. And Caleb Williams is, I want to see it. I think Titans are going to, let's see what happens when they start to lose because USC lost one game, then they lose two, then they lose three. Let's see what happens because their identity is going to be trying to have a quick passing game, short, quick passing game. And Jeffrey Simmons and the Titans are going to get their hands on a couple balls. It's going to get tipped up in the air. Williams is not very tall. They're going to try to roll him out of the pocket. We'll see. I think he's not going to want to run as much as he probably should. I don't like it. Maybe the Bears, maybe he gets it going. We'll see, like as far as his career is concerned, but not this year. Not high on the Bears. Let's go to the West. So to recap it, we got 5 teams so far. So I'm gonna have 2 from the West. We got the Bucks, we got the Falcons, we got the Lions, we got the Packers, we got the Commanders. The team in the West that I have the least amount of opinion on, I'll have more of an opinion after I see them in Buffalo, is Arizona. I got Arizona kind of in the same boat as Minnesota. Wouldn't shock me if they somehow got the 7th seed, but I just not enough talent there. The Kyler Murray is not my favorite quarterback, so I'm staying away from the Cardinals. I don't like betting against the Cardinals though. It feels like every time I do, Murray kills me. And then I actually bet on them the year that they got killed by the Rams, the year the Rams won the Super Bowl. So not a fan of the Cardinals, but not a fan. So there you go. There's the weakest take ever on a team. But I just don't know how to read the Cardinals yet. Kyler Murray's just a hard guy to read. So I don't have them making the playoffs. But again, it wouldn't shock me if they won a couple games they weren't supposed to win. The Let's see how do I want to do it. Let's do the Seahawks. So I've already talked about the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks making the playoffs, but I don't have them as the 1 seed. I have the Seahawks being really, 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 really good. I really like Seattle. If they weren't in the NFC West, maybe they find a way to get to the 1 seed. But the NFC West is going to be tough. And ultimately, there's one other team I like more, but I do like the Seahawks. I think they're going to be. I've talked about so much, but not to be redundant, but it's the coach. It's all about coaching. It's such a big improvement to have Mike Macdonald over Pete Carroll. With all due respect to Pete Carroll, the past year it was bad. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't make any adjustments. He's just rolling out the ball and very vanilla defense. Mike Macdonald's literally allergic to vanilla defense. Like you have no idea. If you're watching Ravens games last year, you're like, did we just blitz 8 guys? It's like, no, I think we only rushed 3. It's like, how did we do? Why is nobody blocking Kyle Hamilton? I mean, I'm happy, but like, how many times? Remember the one game where he just like was not blocked and he just for like 3 plays in a row, it seemed like. Seattle's got so much talent on defense that Carroll couldn't tap into, and Seattle's offense is going to be dynamic. They bring in Ryan Grubb, the coordinator from Washington. Go watch Washington's offense last year. It's Mike McDaniel light from what the Dolphins do. It's a ton of motion, and then it's also Kenneth Walker is like a top 10 running back. So the Seahawks are going to be able to run the football. Geno Smith, if you swapped out Geno Smith for someone else, the Seahawks could win the Super Bowl. Like if you let Mike Macdonald, sorry guys, excuse me, if you let Mike Macdonald take Lamar Jackson with him, then the Seahawks would win the Super Bowl, and the Ravens would probably win 9 games, maybe 8, if we made that switch. Like that's how good this roster is for Seattle. Geno under pressure, we'll see. I like Geno, don't love Geno, so I got the Seahawks winning the division and excuse me, making the playoffs, not winning the division. I got the Rams winning the division. So my biggest take on the NFC is Niners don't make the playoffs and the Rams win that division. So let's do the Rams first, then the Niners. Rams have the best, I'm comfortable saying this, the best 2 receiver quarterback combination. Like quarterback 1, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 combination in the NFL. And if you want to add the running back to it, they have the best there too. So those 4 players are the best 4 out of any team, period. You go to the Chiefs, because if I let you use Travis Kelce, then it's close, but I still would take the Rams. So even if I give the Chiefs Kelce, because it's Kelce and Rashee Rice, no, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is Puka Nacua, if you watch some of his highlights last year, I don't think he's like tackleable. Tackleable is fantastic. I love Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp was hurt last year. Cooper Kupp's the best receiver in the NFL. You can put him on any team, any system. He won the Triple Crown 2 years ago. Cooper, watch what happens this year. Take Cooper Kupp in your fantasy. Cooper Kupp's healthy. Cooper Kupp's amazing. I don't think Cooper Kupp does anything besides football. I've listened to him talk. He was on Julian Edelman's podcast over the summer. It was like one of my favorite listens. I love Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford's. If Stroud and Lamar, like Stafford is where Allen and Burrow is, probably a step above. So if I'm doing my quarterback rankings like everybody else does, it's Mahomes 1, Stroud 2, Lamar 3, Stafford 4, Allen 5, Burrow 6. Off the top of my head, Stafford's that good. Now for the rest of their career, it's a little different. Stafford's probably only got a couple years left, but yeah, they lose Aaron Donald, not great, but it'll force everybody else to play better. Number one, and number two, I think they're going to be playing from the lead with a lot of times, whereas last year it took them a while to get going. Kupp was hurt; they lost some games early, so oh, there's the noise in the background. That's fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, I got the Rams winning the division because they're just going to be way too dynamic on offense. And Kyren Williams, the running back, I think he's going to be. They got Blake Corum from Michigan. I mean, the Rams are just going to be a nightmare to play. Whether or not it holds up in the playoffs, we shall see. But I think they get there as the 1 seed. They do, and the Niners don't. The Niners have done everything wrong since not winning the Super Bowl, since the punt hit that, since the Chiefs recovered the punt. If you go back to the Super Bowl real quick, the Chiefs are the first time the Chiefs get the lead is when the Niners muff the punt, the ball hits the guy's leg, and then the Chiefs get the ball and score a touchdown right away. Ever since that happened, it's been like I think that as a Niners fan, you're gonna look back on that moment and be like, yeah, it's all over. Yeah, it ended when the Chiefs scored the touchdown in overtime. But from that moment on, the Niners had the game in a chokehold, and then it went to a 50-50 game. Then it's just like play after play after play. Is it meant to be? Is it meant to be? And it ends with it not being meant to be for the Niners. And then they decide, all right, let's just have a bunch of drama all off season. Let's not practice. Left tackle stays home. Wide receiver 1 stays home. Quarterback doesn't get paid yet. Needs to get paid. They can't pay him because they're paying everybody else. So he's got to get paid this year. They have to win this year because then they got to mess with the roster. The roster's really good, but they're going to win 9 games, maybe 8, fall short. Maybe they get the 7 seed at the very end of it. But fade the 49ers this year. I think that there's just the vibes are way too far off. And while the talent's there, I thought there was a crack last year in the playoffs. I thought they were lucky to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody looks at the Super Bowl itself and says, okay, I got to stop saying everybody because every time I hear somebody say that, it drives me crazy. Like it's like a straw man argument and it's very annoying. So sorry for saying that. There's people that would look back on that Super Bowl and say, oh, wow, the Niners should have won the Super Bowl. But if you look at it, they were lucky to get there. They were lucky. Jordan Love threw them a gift, and then the Lions fumbled it away. So I'm going to fade the Niners, going to ride the Seahawks, got the Titans. I'll type this all out so it's available. I'm not going to type out my explanation for all of it because I just said it all and I won't know when to stop when I start typing. So there's that. As far as who actually wins the Super Bowl, I didn't say who's going to win the NFC. So by the time it's finished, I think the Packers get there and they beat the Rams. And the Rams don't get like a home field advantage. So I don't feel great about the NFC picking the Packers because I don't know. I'm having a hard time with the NFC, but I just keep seeing the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again. I don't like saying it, and I don't want to say it anymore because I want to root for the Ravens and try to speak that into existence. But I don't know. It's so Mahomes is just that good. I know I'm not breaking any news, but all right. So there you go. Those are my picks. Did I mention in the beginning of the podcast that the Orioles are in first place? I don't know if I did, but Wyatt Langford, maybe I'm getting a jersey or a baseball card this afternoon because I think he just ruined the Yankees. Let me speak this into existence. I think last night was when everything changed. Let's enjoy the last month because the Yankees watch the Yankees somehow miss the playoffs because that game last night, another blown save. The Rangers are out of it. We finally get first place playing the White Sox. I mean, it feels fantastic to play them. The Yankees are going to have to go to Chicago after tonight over the weekend, and the Cubs are still in the wild card. So the Cubs are going to treat that series like it's a playoff series. I think they're only 3 games out of the wild card, so they're right there. Maybe even 2 games out. I got to double check that. But we get the Rays at home. This is the time to just put your foot on their neck because the magic number, just so everybody understands, is a 4 game lead going into that last series with the Yankees. You do not even want to have a 3 game lead because then you're forced to win 1 game. I just want to enjoy that last weekend. I do not want to go to New York. The last 3 games are at New York. And if we have a 4 game lead, then we can just lose all 3. It doesn't matter. We win the division. Anything besides a 4 game lead forces us to win at least 1 game. That's just how things play out. Whether we're down a game, up even if we're up 3 games, because if you get swept, then we lose the tiebreaker. So you have to win 1 out of 3 to win the tiebreaker, and we can afford to be down, you know, technically 3 games also, right? But if we can just be up 4 games and the Yankees go into that series feeling, damn, we have to win a game to make sure we fend off the Royals or the Red Sox to make the playoffs, and we're able to kind of set our roster, that's what I'm hoping for. So if not, I'm going to stress myself out just like everybody else for those last 3 games. So let's just get there. Um, can I also say one? I want to be negative. I told myself no more Brandon Hyde bullshit. Like, just let it go. No one cares about your Brandon Hyde opinion. Period. I'm done Brandon Hyde bashing. It's just not necessary. I've made my point. I don't need to make it every single day. But can we please just get rid of Craig Kimbrell? Like, Slater makes a diving catch again yesterday. I didn't even want him to catch the ball. Like, is that messed up for me to say that? Because I just wanted more runs on Kimbrell. I just want him out of this team. I just want him gone. I can't. This has been the worst mismanagement of a player. He's either the closer or he's gone, and he can't be the closer because you've already decided a month ago you weren't going to give him another chance. So once you decided that, and you let Dominguez close some games, and he started screwing up again, can we just get him off the roster? Because Webb's ready to come back soon, Coulom's ready to come back soon, Grayson's ready to come back soon. Decisions have to be made. Like, feelings are going to get hurt. That's fine. But when the playoff roster, I'm not saying you got to get rid of them in the next 3 weeks if that's going to humiliate him, but he cannot be on the playoff roster. Like, what? Like, it's over. It's over. It's over. That has to be the case. That's over. I think Coulom's got to be the closer. Like, if you told me the Orioles are going to win the World Series, it's because Coulomb came back and said, "I got this. I'll be the effing closer." Like, Dominguez in certain spots, fine. But if you told me we have to get an out, I don't care if it's a righty or a lefty. And especially uh, in the most pressurized moments, I want Coulomb. Hopefully, he'll be ready to go. But yeah, this Craig Kimbrell thing's got to stop. It just does. It's not good for anybody. Glad Slater made the dive and catch, but man, it's just like even in a 9-0 game, he goes in there and is just not sharp, just over with him. So uh, that has to happen. And I guess the other thing I don't know if it's frustrating or not, but Kobe Mayo doesn't need to play first base. Okay, he doesn't need to play first base when there's a left-handed hitter. Like, for the love of God, that doesn't need to happen. Ryan O'Hearn can still play, or if you want to throw Rivera over there, we don't need to talk about Kobe Mayo not being good at third base. That's like not healthy, not great for anybody to talk about. Can he just get some spots at DH? Like, we don't have to say Eloy Jimenez is locked in to the DH spot every single game. Like, I, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Eloy Jimenez fan in the world, and I just think Mayo should be getting more at bats because if you're going to win the World Series this year, you're going to have to get the most out of Kobe Mayo, in my opinion. I don't think you just leave him off the roster and be done with it. I think you got to give him a shot. You're still going to need a big right-handed bat that scares people in the middle of the lineup. And if you told me Westberg was 100% ready, that'd be fine. But like, as he's trying to get healthy, if you don't let Mayo get these at bats now, you're like squeezing him out of it. And I just would like to give him a shot. I really would. I think we're still going to need that big bat in crunch time. And I don't think it's Eloy Jimenez is that guy. But whatever. Those are my two beefs. Even though I said I wasn't going to, whatever. Here it is. Yeah, let me just shut up. I want to be positive. We won yesterday. Yankees lost. It's just for want to make sure we win this division so bad. This team, the way everything's shaping out in baseball this year, there's no great team. The Astros are still like trying to get it together, and the Guardians are the best team. Like we have a really good opportunity, just the way we did last year. And there's just a couple things that I feel passionate about. But hey, it is what it is. Enjoy the ride. Hopefully, we win again today. And what else? I'm going to do a whole preview on the Ravens and the Chiefs tomorrow. Get into it. What I think we need to look for, what to expect, and we'll have picks out and all that. So have a great day, guys. If you need me for anything, just shoot me a message. And now the football's starting. Again, there's no stupid questions. And if you just wanted to talk about whatever, just shoot me a message, schedule a time. You can go on the website. It's completely free. It's not about selling you anything. It's just simply about how can I help you? Maybe you can help me just by having the conversation. It helps sometimes to talk things out. So if there's bets you're considering, or if you've heard different strategies, anything you want to talk about, just get in touch with me. So have a great day, guys. I shall see you tomorrow.